no one wants to feel uncomfortable. This is another thing I've learned too is addiction, right? So we'll get into this with my company, but it's like food was my drug, eating was the addiction. And then when I was going through the pain of losing my company, it's like it was so painful because it wasn't just losing money. It wasn't losing, it was my identity. It was my worth. It was everything. And I'm watching everything fall apart. And it's like, it was too painful. So whatever I could find to not feel, I have a very addictive personality, so it didn't matter. It's like food, drugs, porn, alcohol. It didn't matter. Just get this out of me. Like I want to numb. And what I have learned the hard way, for anybody that has any sort of addictive pattern of behavior, you are only kicking the can down the road. It is inevitable that it will catch up to you.
We rise to the top, can't stop this flow. In the heart of the jungle, we're ready, let's go. In the heart of the jungle, we're ready, let's
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of The Round Table here with Ben, and we actually have a special guest today, Adam Nugent.
Special, huh?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think you're pretty special.
Thank you.
You know, we were talking, I've known of you for a long time, and you don't know this, but I actually looked up to you back then. You had the truck I wanted, you emulated what a life I wanted, but I didn't know enough about myself or thoughts to think about that. So I just want to say I've looked up to you for a while, and I'm glad I've reconnected with you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so the world is small. Yeah,
It is.
When you reached out here a few months ago on social and we put two and two together, how we knew each other, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
Well, and how it all came to full circle, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Cool.
Ben,
Yeah.
how are you?
Good, man. I'm doing great. Thanks, man. I really do appreciate you joining
Yeah,
us.
it's an
I really,
honor.
really do.
Yeah, I love what you guys are doing and happy to be here. And
I'm glad we were able to catch up real quick. And it's always kind of nice to just chit chat and kind of get to know somebody. So I could tell that you have a lot of wisdom and a lot of things, and you've been through a lot. So that's kind of where I want to start. We
Yes.
believe in kind of, talking through some of the significant things that have happened in your life. And I know that just based on some of the information that you have out there, you've been through the loss of a business. You've lost significant weight, so you've been on an incredible fitness journey. You look great, by the way.
Thank you.
And then you also went through a divorce and that type of stuff, and you have kids. So I want you to just start there. Start with those stories and share it with the viewers, and really help them build a high level view of who you are and some of the significant things that you've been through, because they're pretty significant, I would say, and it's important to share those struggle moments, and then we'll kind of just dive in from there,
Yeah.
man. So
No, it's good. No, it's an honor. Thank you. Yeah. Whew. Yeah, it's life is wild. It's been a journey, and I've experienced the highs of highs in every aspect of my life and the lows of lows. Before we start talking about, I've been as low as where I nearly killed myself, very suicidal, and yeah, it's been a journey, again, kind of where to start. I guess I would say real growth, and I'll call it a journey of self-discovery, right? So much of life is about, especially we as men, our worth, everything's tied to the pursuit of money and success and how other people see us. That was me to a T. For most of my life, my worth was tied to the opinions of others. I'm a recovering people pleaser today, but everything, it was yes, and it didn't, because I was so concerned or worried what somebody else thought of me.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of that belief, frankly, is for anyone that feels that way or shows up in the world that way, really what that is I'm not good with who I am, right? When you're so concerned about that, so my journey started about 10 years ago. I was married at the time, and just things weren't working. And, my wife at the time, she and I are great now, great co-parents. Way better friends and co-parents who are married, and we have a very, very incredible relationship today, which I'm grateful for, to be able to say, hey, we're better not married than not, but we've got 4 incredible kids. We've got a great relationship, but back then, I remember once she's just like, we need to go to therapy. We need to go to counseling. And I'm like, oh, hell no, I'm not doing that. It's like, we don't need that. We don't need that. And I remember there was a pivotal moment where I finally opened up with my father about what was going on in my marriage. And it just, kind of had an experience there, we'll call it a divine intervention, if you will, that just said, hey, Adam, you need to work on you. So I decided to call a therapist for the first time. My brother had gone through a divorce and he recommended somebody. So I called her and she gets me on the phone. She goes, why do you want to come in? And I'll never forget what I said. I'm like, I need to figure my shit out. It was maybe the first time where I stopped making it about everybody else and I needed to make it about me, and started going to therapy. I'm a huge advocate for therapy. I'm a huge advocate for coaching. Today I'm a men's coach. But it started there. It started with, I need to make this about me. I mean, it's so easy to point a finger at other people. Well, this is happening because you, and if you would only change. But the reality was like, I needed to change. And I didn't realize to what degree. I didn't realize when you go down this path, what would actually come with that. Because with growth, there is pain. I truly believe that we cannot up level. We cannot become the men that we are either meant to be or want to be without going through a tremendous amount of pain. And the pain, frankly, is really rooted in truth. They say the truth sets you free, but the truth hurts.
Big time.
And I say this constantly, that the hardest person we have ever faced, currently face, or will ever face is ourselves.
That's
right.
I mean, it's true. Facing yourself. I mean, I went the whole therapy and it took a lot to be like, I need a call to work on me.
Yeah.
So facing myself was definitely one of the hardest things I've had to do.
Yeah. Painful. And back in those days, I was working through that. Like, again, at the time, I had a very successful investment management firm. We Inc. 5,000 firm, fastest growing wealth management firm in the state of Utah for 10 years. I mean, we were making money hand over fist. It was fun. Like, just hitting this level, just kept making more and more. I mean, but again, the pursuit of wealth, and my entire identity was tied to that. And so I got full fulfillment from that. And at the time, it's like, the reality is my foundational pieces of my life were shit. I don't know how else to say it. So my emotional, mental state was garbage. My physical body, I peaked at 350 pounds. Just morbidly overweight, morbidly obese. And spiritually, at the time I was Mormon, I don't believe today in organized religion, but I'm more spiritual than I've ever been. I have a greater relationship with God. I mean, it is a huge pillar in my life, in all these different areas. But the one pillar, if you will, that I had built or put all my focus in was in money, was in wealth. And the reality is my foundational pieces were shit. So I really built this empire on stilts, And so, fast forward, therapy, tried to work through things, ended up going through a divorce, and painful. I wouldn't wish divorce on my worst enemy, but it's also not the end of the world either. And I look back on that and I'm grateful for my divorce. As a result of that, I got to, I know the extremes of both sides. So was able to go on and have a very fulfilling and experience passion and intimacy and love at a completely different level that I would not have appreciated or known had I not experienced the other side of it. I truly don't believe that we can really appreciate something unless it's been taken away or we've lost or we know both sides of it. Like, I don't think it's a reality. So for example, if somebody inherits a bunch of money and their family's been wealthy and they've had all this money, they don't know anything else other than that. Right. If someone's always been physically fit, and has been blessed with this incredible metabolism, they've always been healthy, they truly don't know unless they've experienced the other side of it. Everybody says, I know this, I know that. I truly don't believe you can truly know something unless you've experienced it.
The only thing I can say is body dysmorphia sucks on either side.
Oh yeah.
Either side. Because I'm the more fit, high metabolism, and my wife was the, overweight, and body dysmorphia sucks. That's the only thing I can say we both agree with. Because I have no clue what she's been through. Just like you would connect more with that than I would. I have no clue.
Yeah,
but I can agree with body dysmorphia.
And you would connect more in like with my ex-wife, right? She was married to somebody that was that, and the worth and everything's tied to that. And yeah, you don't know, but at the same time, you're experiencing it. You're living with somebody.
Yep.
And didn't you say before we got on? I mean, she's lost 150 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Like, that is no small feat.
Yeah. Diet and exercise. And I mean, I was very supportive through the whole thing. I mean, I I'd come home and she'd be like, let's go for a walk. Okay, let's go walk 3 to 5 miles. Like, I don't care. I'm here to support you. At the time it was COVID, so there was we couldn't, everything was locked down, no gyms. And that was how we,
remember?
yeah, we don't talk about that those times, but that's how we got out and moved. But those were some of the best times because we could connect walking. Yeah. There's no phones, no nothing.
Yeah.
But I was just there to support her. I wasn't anything but that. And I don't know what she was going through. I don't know how she felt unless she told me, but I still couldn't understand that.
Yeah, and what's interesting too, like I in fact, you made a comment on this. I posted this on my social page just here recently around depression and anxiety, right? Now, again, disclaimer, there are people that have legitimate, yes. I mean, I'm not saying someone's depressed feelings or anxious feelings are not valid, because they are,
yes.
Right? And at that time, or my marriage is falling apart, I'm out of way. I mean, I was miserable. I was taking anti-anxiety medication. I was depressed. I was anxious. But the truth was I wasn't taking care of myself, period. So those pills, I didn't want to feel all these feelings. And so, yes, I was taking them. It was helping with anxiety. It was helping with depression, but it wasn't solving the problem. I mean, something simply naturally is going for a walk or going to the gym or eating healthy, It's fascinating. So you go back even during that time, prior to, dating, who was dating Kate, we were friends for 18 months. And we were in a meeting and she said, your physical body is an outward manifestation of what's going on the inside. So here I am, my belly's hanging over my pants. And of course I take total offense to that. She's talking to me. I'm like offended by it, but it was one of the, but I'm grateful for that moment, because as I sat and looked at it, the truth was it was accurate. I look at people because I can look at people that are overweight or morbidly overweight, and I see them differently because I know what that feels like. And the truth is there is so much emotionally, mentally going on the inside. And what people do is they turn to food, just like me, to manage emotions. Yeah. I mean, I believe we're all addicts or addicted to something in some form or another, whether it's food, whether it's drugs, alcohol, porn, social media, drama. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. Everybody has some sort of modality they go to.
Yep.
And it's rooted in avoidance, right? And I believe until the pain of your current situation exceeds the pain of change, we won't change, especially men. So it's fascinating. It's like, why does it have to get so bad before we actually change? Why does it take a couple where the wife finally goes, I'm leaving you, or I'm not doing this anymore, where all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, it's like a wake-up call. Like, why does it have to get so bad? Why do you guys think?
God, I'm sitting here trying to think why, because I mean, I've been in those situations where it's gotten so bad that it's like, you need to make something. This isn't going to work if you don't change. But you have to look to myself, be like, why am I this way? I can't think of an answer.
I think for myself, it was that, like, your back's up against the wall type of deal. And it's crappy that I have to get to that point sometimes that, if, I just stopped drinking until my wife told me, I'm not going to go through this again. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to go through this relationship like this, and I was like, I'm not losing my wife because of an ability that I can control. And so I think at that point it was, for me, what I found in that moment was, and I remember like it was yesterday, I was like, wow, this woman actually really loves me. She actually really cares about me. And that's what made me change. So I was searching for validation that somebody loved me, because I had been missing that for a long time, growing up and everything like that. So when she did that, it really sparked a change in me. But yeah, for me, it was pressure. I think I just was always looking for pressure, more pressure. And it's crappy that it had to get to that point. When I, started my weight loss journey, it was like, I went to the doctor and they were like, yeah, dude, you're pre-diabetic. Your dad had heart disease. He had a heart attack. And I was like, I don't want to. He died at the age of 37. I want to make it past that. I know what my daughter went through, or what I went through. I don't want my daughter to ever go through what I went through without a father. And so, I don't know. I think internally for me, I guess I just was always looking for pressure, and it's a shitty way to get there. Is waiting to, you're at a crossroads, but I think that's what it was for me. I don't know. It's hard. It's definitely I'm reading a book called The War of Art, and he talks about that, the resistance, and how we search for these self-sabotaging things to really sabotage ourselves, and sometimes procrastination is a big thing of that. And I think it's your self-confidence in yourself to want to
So
change.
so I have a question. So looking back on that moment when your wife just looked you in the face and said, "I'm not doing this anymore," right? Painful, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Wake up call.
Massive.
So where you are today, was that a good or a bad thing?
It was a great thing. It was a great thing that she did it. It was hard to hear. It's hard to hear.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm playing with today too is, it's like the bad, the pain, the heartache, whatever that we put this label of negativity on a particular emotion. I mean, I don't think anybody really wants to feel bad, depressed, any of these emotions.
sure.
No.
But the reality is, like, if we look back on it, it's the universe, God's, whatever you believes, like, it's a signal that something's out of alignment. And so we can look at that. It's really the good disguised as quote unquote bad.
Right.
So everything. There's wholeness in everything. There's the yin and yang. There's the waves. It's like, and we, again, going back to what I said earlier, we can't fully appreciate or know what the good is unless we also have the bad or
Yeah.
the unwanted. So those unwanted emotions, that's the universe's way of, like, there's something to look at here. And many times, if we look back on, even your battle with alcoholism or drinking, it's like, yeah, there was that last moment, but there were plenty of signals before that that you chose to ignore, right? I'm the same way, like,
100%.
and it's just like, because we justify it, we rationalize it, or I'll stop tomorrow, or whatever it is, and then we don't until it gets so bad that then boom, it's for change.
Right.
I was talking about my weight battle, when I'd moved into my new place, and still using food to cope for my emotions. And my ex-wife, she called me and just tore into me. I don't remember what she said. And I went into a trance. I just started eating anything I could possibly find. And then, as if that wasn't enough, because I'm trying to get the pain to go away. I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but I'm trying to not feel, right? And I ended up door dashing even more food. And I sat there by myself in my house and gorged myself to the point of the most uncomfortable feeling in the world, where it's like I'm numbing. And then, of course, there's consequences for the decisions we make. And I felt like absolute shit. And I just broke down. And I started bawling my eyes out. And it was in that moment, that rock bottom moment as it relates to my health, that I'm like, I need to change. This does not work. The pain of this is not worth it. And then that was a pivotal moment where I finally started to take control of my health. And so, and if I could go back to that guy, even the day before that, I was miserable. I hated how I looked. I hated myself. And I would look at him and say, Adam, you don't want it bad enough. Which is funny, because at the moment I hated it. I wanted it. But the truth is not bad enough.
That does remind me of my wife a lot, because that's how she was. Is she hated herself, but she wasn't ready to make that change. And same with me. Going back to your question, thinking about it more, it was the fear of being alone. And when it was like, hey, if you don't change, you're going to be alone. And so I had to be comfortable learning to be alone with myself in order to grow. Whether that was gymming alone or whatever it was, I had to find happiness within myself. Because at that time, I wasn't a very happy person. I mean, I have 2 amazing daughters, a great wife, great family, but I was unhappy with me. Looking back, it was all me. I was unhappy with who I was, how I was, what I was doing, how I was acting. So it was just killing me. And I finally wanted it bad enough that I was like, no, I need to change. That rock bottom moment, if you don't, nothing's going to work if you're not happy with yourself, for yourself. It was okay, you're right. Had to sit in it. And now I can do a lot more of that same thing, like you were saying. Just sit there and be like, well, nope, this is my problem. I need to deal with this myself. I can go deal with it. I can go meditate. I can go sit alone for 20, 30 minutes, and I'm happier. And I'm happy to go sit by myself. Whereas before it was, I need someone next to me. I need you. I need this.
Well, because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So no one wants to feel uncomfortable. This is another thing I've learned too, is addiction, right? So we'll get into this with my company, but it's like food was my drug, eating was the addiction. And then when I was going through the pain of losing my company, it's like it was so painful, because it wasn't just losing money. It wasn't losing, it was my identity. It was my worth. It was everything. and I'm watching everything fall apart. And it's like, it was too painful. So whatever I could find to not feel, I have a very addictive personality, so it didn't matter. It was like food, drugs, porn, alcohol. It didn't matter. Just get this out
Numb
of
it.
me. Like,
Numb
I want to
me.
numb. And what I have learned the hard way, for anybody that has any sort of addictive pattern of behavior, you are only kicking the can down the road. It is inevitable that it will catch up to you. You know, suicide, all these different things. It's like it leads you to such a dark moment. All we're doing is delaying the inevitable. You cannot outrun it. It goes back to truth. You can't outrun that hard conversation. You can't outrun taking radical accountability for it. And it's painful. But I'll tell you, when you finally lean into that, the freedom that comes from just speaking the truth or just owning your role is the most freeing thing on the planet.
Oh yeah. I mean, ever since I did that, I mean, I've grown exponentially. I mean, I'm still like rock bottom starting, but I've grown so much more that I can realize more of, okay, I'm mad at myself. Like, there was an instance at work, like these guys just have fun at work. And I used to annoy me, but I'm like, you know what? They're making the best of a situation. They're coming to work. They're having fun. They're enjoying their time here. Why can't I do that? Because I'm not happy with myself. So I need to be happy with myself. And ever since then, I've had a much better time at work. Things have been easier at home. Things have been easier to get to the gym and do everything because I'm happier with myself. I'm not fighting that battle of why are you so pissed off at everybody all the freaking time.
You know what, a good point. And you've hit on this specifically on your podcast, and I know we've read it in Relentless with Tim Grover, but you talked about the darkness is actually needed. It goes back to what you were saying, that bad moment or that horrible situation, whatever you go through, that rock bottom. You said there's light in that darkness. Like, the darkness is where you actually go to find the light.
The light that we're searching for is found in the dark.
And I connect with that so much. And that goes back to your point, to the original point of those quote unquote bad things need to happen for you to get the perspective and search inwardly for that light. So obviously you had a lot of external, internal, like your journey is a lot of internal and external growth. Was there something that was it easier or harder internally, externally to grow for you?
Oh, internally for sure. 100%. You know, it's because it's an inside job always, right? Just, we were talking earlier about the weight side of it. It's like that was a switch flipped, you know, and, you know, the company side of it is in really high level, you know, kind of what happened. Cause it's layered, but you know, so I ran an investment wealth management firm. We managed, you know, at the peak about at $1.4 billion, you know, had offices across the country. I mean, just on cloud nine, just like it was raining. I mean, towards the end of our investment, we were bringing in over $20 million of new assets under management per month, right? Just crushing it. And back in 2017, we had, which is, you know, kind of funny to look back on it now, but we had a lot of investors wanting to invest in cannabis and in marijuana, LDS, Mormons, Bishop. I mean, I just thought, really, you want to invest in this stuff? And this was in 2017. In 2018 in California, marijuana was getting ready to transition from not only medically but recreationally. So we were doing a bunch of hard money loans and doing some things in California ahead of that time, you know, and it was just the wild, wild west. Well, long story short, we were doing these hard money loans, wanted to set up a fund, and, you know, went to an attorney to set the thing up, said, hey, we've got these hard money loans. Can we set up a fund, you know, potentially pay off some of this debt that this guy owes, and or convert some of these guys to equity in this fund. I said, yeah, we can do that. Paid him a ridiculous amount of money to do that, and off to the races we went. Well, fast forward into 2019, you know, we transitioned into CBD. We built a 45,000 square foot facility up in North Salt Lake. We were having conversations with Bank of America to do an IPO, all these mergers and acquisitions. I mean, we were going to 10x, 20x our money. Investors' money. It was crazy. I mean, it was wild. So much fun. And in 2019, the FDA came out and said you couldn't put CBD in food. So we were a wholesale producer. So at the time, CBD was going for $5,000 a liter. And, we had conditional purchase orders at that time prior to that announcement with some big, huge companies that we had contracts to produce up to $20 million a month. I mean, it was crazy.
Dang.
So when that announcement came out in 2019, within 90 days, the price of CBD went from $5,000 a liter to $500.
Wow.
In 90 days. Totally blew up the business. On top of that, COVID kicked in. And right about that same time, the SEC came in to audit our firm. We hadn't been audited, actually by the SEC ever. And so, which isn't normal, which was abnormal. They'd taken so long, but it was normal for them to come in and do that. Well, as they started digging in and looking at everything, they took major issue with how we structured this particular fund. Well, and just kept digging deeper and deeper into it. Our attorneys get involved. We're going back and forth. They had their conclusion. We had our conclusion. We didn't hear anything. And then about a year later, it got turned over to the enforcement division with the SEC. So during this time, I'm trying to reinvent this company, raised a lot of money from investors, clients, friends, people that I've worked with for 20 plus years. So I'm trying to rebuild this company, start over in a way, and then also deal with the SEC behind the scenes. And long story short, when it came down to it, the SEC took major issue with, what I found with the SEC, which is interesting, is they don't care if you make money or lose money. What they care about are disclosures. So when you set up a fund, you have what's called a prospectus that you just list, like, what are all the, what could everything go wrong? How's the fund structured? And basically what had happened is the way the attorney had drafted the documents, there were many things that were not disclosed, lots of conflicts of interest, and it was a shit show. And I didn't know that to the degree. Like, we'd paid this professional, and ultimately I'm the one that signed off on it. Right. So a few years ago, going through depositions and doing stuff, I realized like how quote unquote bad it was and painful. I mean, I was spending $100,000 a month in legal fees. Jeez. It's under an NDA, couldn't talk about any of this stuff. And my entire world is falling apart and trying to keep my shit together and do all these things. And it just painful. And at the end of the day, taking kind of radical accountability. I mean, I obviously played a role. It was my firm. And, fast forward. And so through, what year is this? This is 2025. It's all kind of blended together. So it was like in 2022, basically chose to settle, got fined several $1 million, lost my firm, went public. Everybody lost money in that investment fund. During that time, it was the most painful, gut-wrenching thing I had ever experienced in my life. And I hope and pray to God that nobody has to feel the pain that I felt. We talked previously, Dustin, you talked about your own, suicidal thing. I mean, literally, you almost disassociate from reality to where you feel like and truly are telling yourself that the world would be better off without you. Dark, curled up in a ball. Like it was touch and go there, where a day felt like a week felt like a month felt like a year. And it was just going on and on and on. And again, trying to numb out on it, wasn't able to really kind of discuss a lot of the stuff just because I was under an ND. I felt stuck, and finally having conversations and realizing it was the most painful thing. And, again, for somebody that's worried so much about what other people think of them, right? It's almost really the universe's way is like, oh, you're going to learn that at the end of the day doesn't matter, and to have, even today, have people that still see me in a certain light. There's so much more to this story. In the coming months, there's I'm going to call it the redemption side, but I can't really get into it here. But there's a lot more that's coming out of this that I'm excited to kind of dig into. But nevertheless, owning my role, it was very, very, very painful, and lost everything. Was forced to file for bankruptcy. So again, going from making millions of dollars a year, my worth's tied to this. Yeah. Boom, to starting completely over.
So were you getting divorced at this same time?
No, so this is way past my divorce.
Way past the divorce. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I got divorced in 2017, 2018. Okay. Yeah, and this all came to light in 2023. Wow. Yeah, painful.
I was gonna say, this is still pretty fresh then.
Yeah, I mean, relatively so. I mean, it's been a couple years, but it's one of those things where you come out of that and you're just like, who the hell am I? And then you have this story and your belief that everything I've done is worthless as shit. It just, you question everything. you know, and it's like, what good do I have to offer the world? What do I need to do? You know, and what was interesting is one of the things that I talk a lot about that I'm a huge advocate for that in many ways saved my life in painful is I'm a huge advocate for plant medicine and psychedelics. And I've, you know, it's, you know, in that, have you guys ever done that yet?
We've looked into it, but I haven't found anybody that's connected to do it. So I haven't had that.
Listen, it's not for everybody. Yeah. You know, we talk about facing yourselves. There is no greater, if you really want to go down, if you really want to look at yourself.
I've wanted to. And
it is not for the faint of heart. And for me, I mean, everybody has their different modality, and I've, you know, had the opportunity to participate or experience or with most of the ones that are out there, but ayahuasca specifically for me has been the greatest tool, because the way I describe it to people is it takes your subconscious, your conscious, and the divine, God, whatever that is, puts everything in alignment, and then rips away every story we tell ourselves. So because we all tell ourselves a story why we're doing certain things. There is no story, and it just speaks truth, real truth, that is painful, can be. Wow. And, you know, I believe we're at 100% capacity all the time, whatever that is, you know. And if we want more, whatever it is, if we want more money, we want more love, more passion, more, you know, pleasure in life, whatever those what we call positive experiences we want more in life, it requires that we let part of ourselves go away. In many cases, part of ourselves die. And it's that death, that ego death, that facing ourselves that is so painful that frankly most people aren't willing to look at. It is not for the faint of heart. And going through that process, you know, Plant Med was able to just kind of see where I was out of alignment, where I was out of integrity, where I was lying to myself, and just, again, you can't run from it. So when you're in these ceremonies, they last, you know, hours. It's just like you're just you, and you have to face it. And it is dark, and it is scary, and it is painful, gut-wrenching.
It's definitely something I've thought quite a bit about, but kind of the same thing. I haven't known the right people to talk to.
And it matters. The setting matters. And, you know, anybody that's listening to this that's interested, I mean, have them reach out to me. And it's like, again, it's not for everybody. You got to be in the right headspace. I want to preface that. But for someone that's really ready to go, and there's preparation that has to go into that, there's integration after the fact. I mean, you have these big aha moments, you see things, but it requires that you also change. It requires that you change. And it's that change, it's that integration of once you have this experience that where most people get tripped up in, you know? So through all of that, you know, medicine's been a big, huge part of my life. And what was interesting is in one of my experiences, I saw that I needed, you know, this is back in, it's almost been 2 years, where I got the impression, we'll call it vision, impression, whatever, that I actually needed to go online and talk about this. Now everybody's talking about it anyway. This is very public, you know, community's talking about it. I go to my kids' football games, the looks people are giving me, it just like, it was, I mean, a lot of people were affected by it, and just so insecure, you know, again, someone that's put all their worth into this. So I'm sitting here and I'm like a fraction of who I was. And I got this impression I need to go online and talk about it. So I finally, you know, got, I'll say, the balls to actually do it. It scared the shit out of me. But I shared it all. I shared what had happened. I took responsibility. I talked about being suicidal. You know, I recorded videos all day. I spent the whole day doing this. I ended up posting, it was like a 10-minute clip. You guys can go back and look at it. It's back in April of 23. And I hit, you know, post. And if you had a black light that could check anxiety, it would have cracked the light. I went for a walk. I'm a mess. I'm a complete mess. But I leaned into it. It scared the shit out of me. So I come back, you know, for my walk, my phone's sitting in there, and it's going off like crazy. Text, hundreds of messages, comments, whatever. And it was love, compassion, empathy. But the biggest surprise that happened were the number of men that sent me a DM or text me, "You saved my life today. Thanks for being brave. I'm not alone." And I'm sitting there bawling, tears streaming down my face. It had been, I mean, literally years of so much pain, so just feeling it. And it's like, oh, I felt seen. And what I learned in that moment, which I'm so grateful for, is the power of vulnerability, the power of sharing our shit, the power of just doing that. Because, you know, it was funny when I was going through this entire experience, one of my coaches who was really helping me work through all this, he's like, until you're sitting there naked And the example was like a stadium of 50,000 people and you're standing there butt ass naked, you're not going to be free. And I didn't know what that meant. So as we're going, and he's like, you're not free yet. You're not free yet. The minute I said that and put it out there, it's like in that moment I was naked. It's like, here it is. I'm raw AF. But what came as a result of being that raw is completely transformed my life. And I look at, you started the podcast as like, I've been through a lot. I mean, literally, like, one of the greatest gifts that I believe I have to offer to men is I can connect on their shit. I mean, again, every circumstance is different, but the feelings or the emotions, the darkness, literally in every aspect of my life, I can connect in it. And I've learned through my own journey and my own trials that it's like the only way to move through or to ascend or to level up is to face our shit. And nobody can do it for you except you.
No, being vulnerable has to come from you.
Vulnerability, action, radical ownership, radical accountability, and I truly believe you can have it all. So just like you guys, like we're sharing our growth story of where we're at, I would say I can say with confidence today, I am more confident in who I am as a man than I've ever been in my entire life. My foundational pieces, I have done so much work around this, so much work, are strong. I'm in the process of building a new empire that will blow away anything else I've ever done in my entire life, but it's because I have a strong foundation now. And I've prioritized other parts of my life that I neglected in the past. My emotional mental state, my spiritual state, physical. I mean, they're all connected. Yeah. And I don't believe in balance. I don't think balance exists, but it's to be able to get into a harmonic state, if you will. And so I'm in harmony. So there's seasons.
I like that.
There's seasons of I got to hit the gym. There's seasons of I got to work my ass off and I just got to be in this. There's seasons of like the relationally and doing that, but it's finding flow in doing that. And the more in flow you get, the more you get to know yourself. And the only way you can get to truly know yourself is if you're willing to be wrong, willing to change. Everybody says they want to grow. Everybody says they want this or that, but most people are not willing to do what's necessary to get there.
Oh, sorry to cut you off.
No.
I was going to say that's something we've realized, myself, you, my wife, have realized that in order to grow, you have to want to change. You have to make those changes. People aren't going to do it for you. I had something else and I lost it right as I went to say that. But no, being able to grow yourself is huge.
Yeah, and it's just taking accountability. It's like, again, life, there's a lot of what happened that frankly wasn't on me. That's the truth. Regardless of what anybody thinks or not thinks. So yes, that's true. So I am, trust me, I played that victim martyr card for a long time. But what I am responsible for is what I do with it. So life is happening for us, not to us. And there are many instances where there are things that are done to us, right? That are out of our control. But yet what I do with it is my responsibility. I can choose, it's a choice. I can choose to sit in the shit. I can choose to be a victim. I can choose to do all this. All my feelings are going to be validated as a result of that. Or I can choose to do something different. I can choose, yes, this happened to me and I did this, or this happened to me and I did that. And I look at it today and I think, again, I feel more purpose-driven than I've ever felt. I feel like I look back and what I've gone through, frankly, was divinely in many ways orchestrated, and which has led me to where I am today. And the beautiful thing is I feel that there's not a mask, and I've worn masks my whole life. It's exhausting. So getting to this realization, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of people that don't like me. And I always have to remember, like, well, there's a lot of people I don't like either.
Yeah.
Like, duh.
Yeah.
And there's moments where I just laugh my ass off. I'm like, oh my gosh, get out of your head. It's like, yeah, you don't like everybody either. So why would you think everyone's going to like you?
Right.
And so when you can start to detach from that and just take off the mask, and it's like, I'm just me. And I don't, there's less effort in just being authentic.
Right.
There's so much less effort in being authentic,
You
just
know,
being yourself.
Yeah. And if someone has a reaction, that's their reaction. And the truth is I have big energy, so I can trigger a lot of people. I know I can light up a room. I also know I can suck the energy out of it, and learning how to play with that and know, when do I say something? When do I not? When do I just be? When do I not? Right. It's like that comes with practice.
Right.
But the truth is, I think the only difference between anybody that quote unquote has it, or doesn't, is that they're willing to do things that others aren't, period. An extreme example is Elon Musk, right? People could have
Yo.
different opinions of the guy, but I have mad respect. It's like he has an idea, he goes after it. Right.
He works hard at those ideas too.
He does, but it's like, and do I agree with everything he says or does? No, but like I respect his confidence, his inner belief, and many times he's wrong, but he figures a way to get there. And you look at anyone in your life, whatever, like, why is someone in shape that's someone that's not? They're just doing something that you're not. So you can look like, well, it's lucky, it's genes, it's hereditary.
No.
It's all bullshit. Yeah. It's like, those are just excuses why you're not there. Right.
Yep.
Because you're not willing to do it. Yep. Same thing with money, right? It's like, why does some guy have made all this money? Yeah, we can do it all, and there are those instances, but at the same time, like,
those are so few and far between. It's not even
but
funny.
It's scary because if you have like, and I get this, right? If you like, have a salary job and it's like, you want more, but like this whole thought or idea of like, shit, what happens if I fail? Or what happens if how am I going to provide? Or how am I going to provide for my family? I mean, those are legitimate feelings, right? But at the same time, what's a bigger pain? What hurts more? The pain of regret or the pain of trying and actually failing? Because I truly believe that as long as you're moving forward, you will always get what you want.
So on that, I was thinking about a question to ask you today. And the shirt I have on, it says take quitting off the table. And from everything that I've gone through, quitting is not an option. I have 2 shirts that say it, and that quitting is not an option for me. Whatever it is, failure's where I'm going to grow. Do you agree with that? And what's your stance on that?
So we attach to outcomes. I mean, if you think about it, has anything in life ever turned out exactly the way you thought it was going to be?
Hell no.
Nothing.
Hell no.
Yeah, but we get so fixated on this, like, I'm going to do this, 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 and this, and this. So we get so attached to outcomes. And so when the outcome doesn't happen the way we want it to, we all of a sudden freeze. We think we've called a failure, called whatever you want. But the reality is, my belief is like, let's use an example. It's a door, right? I'm going through this door and all of a sudden that door shuts. And quitting would be like, the door shut up,
turn around,
fuck it, I'm done. Like, it's over. I didn't make it. I'm going to go back to doing this. Or what if that door shut? The universe led you to that door, but what you don't see is that 10 other doors just opened. And the reality is the only way you're going to get to that other door is if this door closed. So my belief now is I'm trying to practice more and more the art of detachment as far as what the outcome is. And I believe as long as I don't quit, meaning I keep moving forward towards my goal, that I'm going to get what I want. But it's not possible if I just get so fixated on the particular door shutting.
So you take that failure as a lesson to find other doors, find other opportunities, rather than just stop.
Yeah, or what is failure? What does that even mean?
That is a great question. I should have to look that up. But
I think it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
So if I failed in my life, sure, but like I look back on some of these things and I'm like, or was it just a redirect? Was it just like that was the way of you getting checked, or it's a way of you coming back into alignment or back into integrity? And it's like it was needed because I didn't realize I was truly. I don't think any of us consciously tried. Even in the world today, I mean, I think there's definitely evil. I think there's definitely people that have bad intentions. And like, I'm not saying that, but I think generally speaking, most people don't. But yet there's all these circumstances that this ripple effect that happens, that all of a sudden someone shows up a certain way and we judge the way they're showing up, but we don't have context to like what's led them to that.
Never thought about it.
So one of the greatest things about going through shit is like you get wisdom, but you get empathy too. So today, when I hear somebody did this or somebody did that, my go-to before would have been like anybody else would be like, oh, they did what? Oh my gosh, I can't believe this or that. My go-to today is like, I wonder what happened in their life for them to lead them to do that. Or what else is there? Or more importantly, like there's more to this story than just that. Right. I just don't, because of my own journey, I don't, and again, if someone's in a growth-oriented mindset, like I'm not the same man I was 6 months ago.
No.
I've radically transformed from the man I was 2 years ago. I'm not even the same person. So people that I haven't even spoken to in a year or 2 years, they don't even know who I am. They know who I was, but they don't know who I am today. And I don't want to be held in my past. Like, so is it fair for me to hold anybody else in their past?
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, That's something my wife has said multiple times too. I don't want to be known as that past person. I want to be known as who I am now, not that past person.
Yeah. And
That's
so
something for me too. I don't want to be known as that angry person over there. I want to be known as the guy that's here. He's showing up every day, working on himself, getting better, being who he authentically needs to be, or who he is, not needs to be, but who he is.
So let's say I was in your life, you know, we were close and I just knew you as this angry, just
You
bitter
wouldn't
man.
want to be around me.
Yeah, but that's not who you are today, right?
No.
So if I came to you and just like, again, have this judgment or we get in a conversation like you're just pissed and angry, right? It's like, again, it's an opportunity for you. If you get triggered by it, you're like, you know,
Why am I that way?
Yeah. Or why was I that
Yeah.
way? You know, like I hear you. I know that's your experience, but that's not who I am today.
Yeah.
Right. And so to me, practicing when people say things or do, I have a lot of people that hold me in my path. There's a lot of people I haven't seen in a couple of years that I'm sure still see me that way, but they don't know who I am today until they actually experience it, you know? And then again, whatever their story is that they're telling themselves, that's their story. It's not mine. And I used to connect in that story. I don't connect in it today. So again, it's taking the power back. It's everything's rooted in a story. So one of the things I do with the men that I work with is we get to the root of the story, like, and it's just a story. And a story can be rewritten. A story can be told over. It's like, yeah, I can say I'm a failure. I can say I'm all these things, or I can tell a different story. I can choose something different. And at the end of the day, it only matters what I think.
Right.
And then there's opportunities. We have people in our lives that will affect something. It's like, oh, I need to shift this story. I need to change this story. I need to change this. Before we started this podcast, we talked about worth. You know, one of the common themes that I have seen with the men that I work with, no matter how much money they make, relationally, whatever, if whatever part of their life that they want more of, or if you get to the root of it, and most people don't realize this at the very beginning, but it's rooted in worthiness. It's rooted in, I don't feel worthy of this. I don't feel worthy of this.
I've definitely felt that before.
And I can tell you today, I don't. Like one of the things that I do with men is I help them put together what's called, you know, your personal declaration. It's like, who are you? And, you know, a lot of the times I'll ask guys this at the very beginning, I'm like, who are you? And it's the same answers from everybody. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I'm a provider. I'm a friend. I'm loyal. I mean, whatever they feel they are. And so I'm like, okay, so if you write that down, like, are you emotionally charged by telling yourself that? Right? Do I get excited that, like, for you said, Ben, like a big thing is a dad, right? You being a father. Well, am I just telling myself I'm a dad, which is true, but what if you're like, I'm the greatest dad in the world?
Right.
There is no better father than I am, right? Well, who am I to tell you you're not? So if you're telling yourself that constantly and you come home from work and you're tired and your daughter wants to talk or hang out with you and really you want to kick your feet up, watch a show, check out, watch sports, whatever, you've told yourself this new story that you're the greatest dad in the world. You are more likely to actually turn the TV off, put away your phone, whatever, and actually engage with your daughter because you've told yourself you're the greatest dad in the world versus I'm just a dad.
Right.
And so, you know, I help these guys walk through this thing. Like literally, if anybody heard you say this out loud, you'd think you're an egomaniac. And I'm not, and it's not about telling people who you are. It's about being who you necessarily want to be. You know, manifestation's a big buzzword today. And to me, if you want to manifest something, you have to actually be something in order to have it.
That's a pretty fair point. I actually, when I was doing that journaling and everything, I was writing some of those things down. Like, I am a good husband. I am a good father. And I could have used better words hearing you talk now, but I was feeling my emotions, but I'm like, okay, but I am better than this. I am this. I am a good person, whatever I put down. I can't even remember what I wrote down, but I was having this issue and I'm like, okay, well, what am I? Why am I that way? I am a good husband. I am a good father. I am a good friend, whatever it might be, rather than just not having it. It's something I have done. At one point I had on my screensaver, like the affirmation type thing on there, just like, okay, remember who you are to look at every single day.
Yeah, and in my personal declaration, I tell myself this every day is I'm worthy and deserving of anything and everything I want. I say it over and over and over and over. And I can tell you with confidence, I don't question my worth.
But I think there's action tied to that too.
100%. But
Because you could say, like exactly your point, right? I could say I'm a great father, but if that moment comes where the TV's on and my daughter wants to talk, it's my job to take action and say, I'm going to shut this TV off. You still run that story through your head, but you still have to put in the action, because that resistance, or that part where the kid, isn't as important as this game that's going on, you have to make that choice right there. It still comes back to the person. That's
100%.
You have to make the choice. It's not just going to click because you are saying it to yourself that you are that. You have to go back to that to switch that, make that action happen. But I think it always comes back to, you're the one that has to make. It's like an addiction, right? Everybody can want to be, there for your family. You can want to drop the bottle or whatever. But so it's up to you to do the action.
With everything in life, I agree with you, and with the exception of one instance, and it's worthiness. Worthiness does not require action. So there's this belief that I'm worthy of. Let's be really clear. Let's take money. Mm-hmm. So, like, just telling myself that I'm worthy to have wealth, whatever the wealth is that I want to have in my case, like, to me, that is an inherent thing that God has given us because we're alive, is that we are worthy of it. Okay. Now, deserving, or it's mine, or whatever, requires action. It requires that I actually do something in order to get it. But worth in itself does not require action. Worth itself does not require that I do something. And we as men tie so much of our worth to all these different things that we truly believe that, well, I'm not worthy of it because I haven't done this or that. To me, that's bullshit. Worth is inherently, that's part of it. So that to me is very differentiated with worth. Worth, we are, each man or woman on this earth is worthy of anything and everything we want, period. There is no action that requires worth. The problem with any of those that have grown up in organized religion is worth is tied to, like, you got to follow this, you got to do this, you got to do this, and that's rooted, and that's all man-made. I think that's bullshit. I don't believe that. I'm choosing to not believe that. Because at the end of the day, if worth is tied to an action, we are going to constantly feel like we're not worthy enough.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. So worth in itself, to me, is the one component that is not contingent on any action or doing something. Even if I do something I'm not supposed to, or I'm out of alignment, it doesn't take my worth out of it. I'm still worthy because I'm human, because I'm born, because I'm a son of the God, universe, whatever you believe. Worth does not require action.
Inherently internal.
It's an internal feeling. So for me, I don't question my worth, because when I question my worth, I show up with a mask. I show up doing other things for other people or whatever. It's like, no, that's not worth. Now, if I want to deserve it, well, the deserve costs action. Or if I really want this, I actually have to put forth effort into it. It's not going to be given to me. God's not going to show up on the front porch and say, here you go.
Yeah,
that's a pretty fair point. I'd never thought about it that way, honestly. Because somebody that, like, I mean, you've been there. You don't feel like you're worth being on this earth. You don't feel like you're worth the breaths you're given, the love you're given. At least I'm assuming that somebody that's been suicidal feels that way.
100%.
But now that you say that, I mean, you're right. I mean, I was born here. I'm worth everything that is given to me, the way I see it.
So it's one thing, and you're hearing this like, oh, that makes sense. So again, on paper, hearing it truly makes sense. Actually embodying that, and not only feeling it, but believing it, is another level. And you can only get there when I've found the only way you can actually truly get there is if you have to reprogram that worth's not tied to anything else. And I'm telling you, when you can actually detach that from everything else, it's fascinating what happens. So for example, if I don't have the money I want, or I'm struggling here and there, worth's not the issue. It's because I'm not doing something. It's because
action's not there.
It's the action, or I'm scared, or I'm frozen, and I'm choosing not to lean in, but my worth's not tied to that. Again, perspective.
I love that.
You can agree or disagree, but like I'm choosing to look at that way because I want to take worth out of the equation.
That's a nugget I hope people pick up on, because that's huge.
I mean, it's clear I still have work to do, obviously, because I'm still working on that worth part of everything. But I know that I'm worth it, but I'm still working on getting to 100% believing that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I just like that, an affirmation. I believe in affirmations, what we tell ourselves. Like, that's something you should tell yourself constantly. And when you find worth kicking in, like you're questioning your worth, it's like, and then you just override it because that's an old program. You know, how old are you, Dustin?
I'll be 35.
So
in
for
August.
35 years in one form or another, you've told yourself you're not worthy of something, right? So to all of a sudden just like, boom, I'm worthy today. Like you're overriding a program you've told yourself. I mean, it takes time.
Yeah, it's with everything. It's been taking time. It's getting quicker at those. Okay, like the anger. I'll use anger. It's quicker at, okay, why am I mad? Okay, is this your fault? What is your part in this? Okay, now I can move on. Yep. Instead of being angry for an hour, I can be angry for 10 minutes and I can move on and be happier again because, okay, I've dealt with it. I've learned it. Okay, let's move on. It doesn't need to sit in it anymore.
Like one of the things I tell myself every day is I'm integrous and my word is my bond. Now, am I perfect with that? Absolutely not. And I'm in a space today that I'm very intentional with what I say yes to because that matters. That's a core value for me. And my greatest teacher in my life is my oldest son. It could be something as simple as like, I'll clean the kitchen. Right? And I don't. He checks my ass. And he's like, you're out of integrity. And I'm just like, ooh, it stings, but he's right.
That's awesome though.
Literally last week, I texted him, I'm like, I'll clean my boys were out. I have 4 sons and they were off doing something. I'm like, I'll clean the kitchen. So I did the dishes, and then I texted him, like, I was exhausted. I'm like, hey, when you guys clean off the countertop? Like, anyway, he texts back, he goes and puts in parentheses, I'll clean the kitchen. You didn't say you would just do the dishes. And of course I'm pissed and I'm having this whole thing. I'm tired, whatever. But the truth is I told them I would, and I didn't do it. I was out of integrity.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, because here's the thing with integrity too, for me, a lot of people say I'm integrous. I follow through on my commitments to other people. It's like, but take it a step deeper. How integrous are each one of us with the commitments we make to ourselves that nobody else knows about? Something as simple as like, I'm going to get up in the morning and go to the gym. I've told myself that. Whether I wrote it down or not, I've told myself I'm going to get up and go to the gym. And if I wake up in the morning and I go to the gym, I'm out of integrity. I lied to myself. That erodes confidence. And we excuse it, I'm busy, whatever. But it's like you continue to do that, it will be manifested and it'll show up in other people. It'll show up in your life and how you interact with other people. Because confidence starts with keeping the commitments we make with ourselves. Right. So what drives me today are my own personal commitments of what I've committed to myself. And that's my compass. That's what keeps me in check way before whatever I fall through on somebody else. And that to me, because if I can't keep the commitments I make with myself, how can I possibly keep the commitments with other people?
That's something I've heard a lot. I was just going to say there's, my wife runs a spa, as an esthetician, and she works in our basement. And one of the things that every night that I do is I make sure I do the dishes and clean her spa. And there's multiple times I'm like, it's 10. I'm like, man, it's 10 o'clock. I've got to get up at 5. I'm exhausted. And she's like, I'll just do it tomorrow. And I'm like, no, that's not what I told you. I told you I'd make sure you're ready for work and the dishes are done. And if I don't keep that to myself, it eats me alive. Like I've done it once or twice and I'm like, no, this bugs me. Like I'm not holding myself accountable for me saying, I will have these 2 things done for you. Doesn't matter how tired I am. Doesn't matter where I'm at. Doesn't matter the time. I'll get them done. There's a handful of times she's like, I'll just do it. And I'm like, it's 10 minutes. I've got 10 minutes to waste anyways before I have to go back downstairs. Why not just come up, do the dishes real quick, get them done, go finish. And 10, 15 minutes, I'm done with everything that I told you I was going to do. Rather than just, oh yeah, I'm so tired. I'm just going to go to bed. Now, not only that, I just put more burden on you for the next day. That's not fair to you. And I'm losing myself. I'm not holding myself accountable for what I told you I was going to do.
100%.
That's been huge for me at nights, just to do that. Whether it's 10 o'clock, 11, or 6, right, when I get home from work, just get it done. Either way, if I don't do it, I feel like shit the next day.
Yep.
Same with going to the gym. We used to go super early and everybody's like, how can you go at 4 a.m? It's easy. I just get up. But don't you have to? No, you just get up. I'm committed to going, so I get up and I go every day. Granted, I've switched to nights, but still, I go every night. It doesn't matter. One day, Sunday, that's the only day I don't go to the gym. 6 days a week, I'm there. And it's a commitment I've made to be there and to show up for myself. Like you say, it's therapy. It's not about building muscle. Yes, that helps, but no, I'm there to work through my own shit, deal with my own mind, push the weight and be angry at it rather than myself or whatever else is going on in the world.
Yep.
So I want to touch on something, and you've hit on it a few times, that you had a mentor, you have a mentor.
Yeah.
How was those relationships, and you can relate it to your mentor or even just other friendships or relationships that you have in your life? How have those influenced your journey?
I mean, I believe everybody should have a coach, mentor, coach, someone in their life, really where someone that has gone through what you're currently going through, they can connect in it, knowledge, right? You know, it's interesting in the coaching world, you know, the world that I'm in, it's like you've got all these people that have certifications and this and that. And the truth is, like, and I've worked with all of those people. I mean, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in coaching. But who I have always connected more with is when somebody has gone through wherever I happen to be in life, right? So, for example, if somebody's struggling with fitness, like trying to get in shape. So one of the things I do with men is I work with men in the fitness space because of my own journey, but I can connect in their pain because I know it. So a guy that's 100 pounds overweight and all the stories and everything he's telling himself, it's like, I know that. So, you know, it's, yes, the formula is the same. Any particular coach, you know, can tell them what to do. But what many coaches can't do is connect with them in all the emotional stories and all the emotional bullshit they're telling themselves because they don't know it. So it's finding somebody that actually knows it, has experienced that, I think is critical. So for the men that I seek out of my life, I want to connect with men at a very deep level that understands pain, that understands where I'm going. So like the season I'm in, like I'm drawn to people that have been where I've been, that understand it. So then, and what they did to get out of that, that's what I'm looking for, you know, from a mentor. And I think anybody that, and I think, you know, friendship, you know, I think the greatest friends in the world are the ones that'll check our asses. Mm-hmm. That when they see that we're out of alignment, we're not showing up in our best selves, that will actually call us out. Again, the truth hurts, but like I want people in my life like that. I want friends that will check me. I want people that like, yeah, I've done a lot of growth and will continue. I'm growth minded, but like, I don't know it all the time. And when I'm out of alignment, just like the example I gave earlier with my son, it's like, I want to be checked. I welcome it. It doesn't feel good all the time. You know, there's times where I react to it, but then I get to sit with that reaction and it's like, shit, he's right. You know, so mentor is like finding somebody that's been on that path that understands that. And again, there's plenty of guys out there, especially on social, that talk the game. It's one thing to talk it. I mean, again, the formula for any of this stuff's not overly complicated, but to actually someone that's been through it and understands it, like you have a lot more respect for someone like that versus someone that just talks. Or we have, again, goes back to the mask. I know a lot of people, especially on social, that like show up one way, they say the things, but the truth is like behind the scenes, they're a completely different person. Mm-hmm. So again, to who I am today, because of my journey, it's like, I want to be the same guy that I am here with your podcast, right, that I am alone in my room, that no one sees me. On social, whatever happens to be, my goal is to be the same guy always, where for me, that's my own personal integrity. That matters to me, that I'm not going to show up differently for you or somebody else, knowing that when I show up that way and I'm choosing to be that man, that there are people that aren't going to like it. There are going to be people that get triggered by it, and that's okay because that's not my responsibility.
I think being authentic in who you are goes a long way with people though too. Because of that exact mask with all the filters and everything that they can put on, being very authentic to who you are. I mean, like I knew you a little bit before this, not very deep. I just knew you passing here and there, but everything that I've seen and then sitting here with you is aligning perfectly with everything on social to what you are now. You're very authentic to who you say you are on social media, plus right here in front of us. I feel that. You're being very authentic with us, which when you can tell somebody's not,
you know,
it hurts.
Energy's real.
Yeah.
And what I found too, the more aware that I am with me, the more you notice in other people when they're not.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. So it's just, it's just interesting. Like the deeper you get to know yourself, the deeper you get to, the more you face your own shit, you all of a sudden see in the world where people aren't. And people are showing up a certain way, and and it's just like, and rather than judge, it's like, this is where they're at, or you just see it for who they are. And when I choose to say something or not say something, that's my own journey, if you will. But more often than not, I just see people, and the truth of the matter is too, especially in growth, you have to choose. Until somebody's willing to choose, until someone's ready to make the decision, they're not going to change. And more often than not, having a guy on, take an Andy Elliott on social media, right? That's just belittling some guy on stage because he's fat, or overweight, and just, to me, being just a dick. Like, if you take the message out, what he's saying is true, right? The delivery sucks, but what he's saying is true. And I don't think most men, but sometimes we need to get checked like that. Sometimes we need that as men, but more often than not, I don't think most people connect in that. But I also believe that, like, you can help somebody get to the root of it by asking lots of questions. Me telling you guys, hey, you should do this or do that, versus me asking you a lot of questions to where you ultimately come to the decision like, shit, I got to do this. Right. It's because you chose, because you recognize, not because of something I told you. It's the power of a question. And I am leaning more and more into that. Even with coaching, most of what I do is I just ask questions. Yeah. And with my clients, when they get to the root of it, it's like, and I keep asking, like, is that true? Is that real? So what do you need to do? What do you need to do? And then it's like, then I always ask, like, all right, are you open to feedback? But more often than not, they're coming to the conclusion. Yeah. Just like the example, I don't know if it was before we got on with my father, when the coach was talking to me, and I just realized he wasn't even talking about this. It hit me. And it's like, holy shit, I'm being a martyr. Yeah. So yeah, it's wild.
I like that. I mean, I'm somebody that if you're going to ask me questions, it's going to make me think and dig in deeper and deeper and deeper. But if you're just sitting there yelling at me, I'm like, why are you yelling? I'm going to react as much as I don't want to. But if you're asking me questions, I'm going to sit there and like, damn, you're digging deep.
But you guys are big fans of Andy Frisella, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So he's that guy. He's like, fuck you. I mean, he is the guy that comes out hot, right? So do you take offense to him showing up that way?
I think I don't take offense to answer the question, but I think there's leadership styles, right? And I think everybody should be led a different way. And there's moments to lead a certain way, that there's a moment, like you said, that you have to maybe be a little bit upfront with somebody, but hey man, you're fucking up. Or hey man, can I talk to you on the side? Let's really dig in. Let's have a conversation to get them to where they acknowledge kind of what's going on. But I think Andy's definitely a direct person. He'll tell you kind of, I think he's not as like Andy Elliott. I wouldn't say he's that extreme, but Andy Frisella for sure will just kind of give you a straight answer. And
yeah, there's no fluff.
There's no fluff behind it.
I think the delivery's where it's at. Whether, like you said, I don't care as much for Andy Elliott personally. I don't think his delivery comes across as well. Whereas, and to me, I guess I can't see as much of what he's built. I can't buy his product. I'm sure I can. I haven't researched as much, but I mean, I'm wearing Andy Frisella's right now, so I can relate to that. I can buy the product, and I think his delivery comes across better because to me, I guess I hear more of him giving a direct answer and not yelling as much, whereas everything you see of Andy Elliott just seems like he's yelling.
Well, I think also Andy Frisella tells you, like, it's to the point, right? He don't make you take your shirt off and tell you you're fat and da-da-da, right? And I'm not trying to bag on Andy Elliott, but I'm just saying, like, using that example, because Andy Frisella was overly overweight, he knows the feeling of where you're at mentally, and that probably can tip you over the tipping point to a place where you don't want to go.
Yeah, because if 350-pound Adam, if I was at an event and he calls me up on stage to do that, the humiliation, the feelings, like, that's not, I'm like, I get, maybe that, who knows, maybe that would have been a catalyst for me, but I just don't, most people, again, it's like, I want to try to connect in men's heart space and then also check them when it's appropriate, but I don't think you have to be an asshole. Yeah, I agree. That's my whole point. You don't have to be a dick.
No.
And so I just think that resonates with most people. And that's not who I am, but like, I had a client this last week. I mean, I checked his ass on some stuff and he appreciated it. Yeah. But I didn't come off as a dick. I just kept asking him questions, and then I shared my experience with him, and then it's just like, right?
I think people can tell too when they're coming from a place of love. We talk about that a lot in our family, like, come from a place of love, not from a place of hate. And I think even if you're direct with somebody, like you said, the truth hurts sometimes, but they know you're coming from a place of love. It still hurts, but you know that it's not coming from a negative place, and you accept it a little bit better. I think that's kind of the case there.
Well, I think it's the mindset you're in personally. Because going back to that, if somebody were to yell at you because you're you're fat, but you're not ready to make a change, you're going to take offense to it. But when you're ready to make that change, you're going to sit in and be like, yeah, that sucked. But it's like, oh, he has some really good points. You're able to think about it and process what they're saying and how they're saying it to say, okay, they have a good point. Even though he might have been more direct with me or mean, it was from a place of love. He was trying to help me, not just humiliate me.
Yeah. There's a difference.
I think there's a huge difference because, I mean, I've had issues where people have yelled at me and I'm like, stew on it all day. But lately, because I'm growing and I'm learning, I'm like, okay, where's my fault in this? Where did I go wrong? Okay, yeah, I understand what he's saying and I need to move on because ultimately there was a piece of this that was my fault, or it was all my fault, either way. And I need to accept my accountability in it, and I need to move on. I can't be mad about it because he came at me at a different direction. That's fine. That's his choice. This is my choice to move forward this way and to take it productively rather than negatively.
Yep.
Would you say it's fair to say that that ties back to worth? Like not reacting to those types of things when somebody tells you, you know, I don't know, guy's a little bit more harsh with you. Is it tie back to your self-worth?
I mean, it can. I think for most people, for sure. I think take you both are married, right? When your wife checks you, right? Do you question your worth? You mentioned,
I question my action, depending on what's. I mean,
I think it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. It's, or the fear of abandonment, or the fear she's going to leave me, or she's going to do this. Right. It's, I think it's different for everybody. I mean, do I question my worth when I get checked or that? No. It's more of, I mean, I've just, again, with everything I've gone through today, like I welcome those opportunities because it's an opportunity for you to sit in it. And trust me, I'll still feel it. I'll get triggered. Yeah. You know, I've got a coming up here in a couple of weeks, a friend that I haven't talked to in a couple of years has got a lot of pretty strong feelings towards me from stuff that happened with my business, some other things. And it's like, but they don't even know who I am today. But their experience of me was from 2 years ago, right? So I can choose to not lean in, and I can just choose to let them have their story validate, or I can just be, and they get to experience me, and then ultimately they get to choose if they want to change their story or not. I don't have any responsibility for that, but I'm open. They're close enough to me that I want to be able to have that. I want to be able to for them to understand who I am, give them more context of why certain decisions were made, but ultimately that's something I need to lean into. You know, my tagline with my coaching company is freedom is in the fire. And so again, if you look back at this is one of the things for me too, is I've looked back in every difficult moment I've had in my life. They've all been for my good. So when I feel fear, to me, fear is a calling. So yes, I'm scared, but I'm going to do it anyway. And when I choose to do it anyway, guess what happens? I get confidence. Even if I look like this or that, or, you know, take social, for example, right? The more and more I put myself out on social, there's fear in that, but I also get more comfortable with it. And it's like, okay, I'm going to be a little more polarizing now. I'm going to put myself out there a little bit more. There's hesitation, because the hesitation is like, what are people going to think? Whatever story I'm telling myself. But the feeling, I'm in a season today, the feeling of not moving forward on the action is more painful than actually moving forward on it. Love it. So again, the fear is the calling. The fire, the freedom that I'm searching for is actually on the other side of what I'm avoiding. Mm-hmm. Everything we want is on the other side of pain. Everything we want is on the other side of fear. End of story. And again, I believe that the people that we put on pedestal, and Andy Frisell we're talking about, I mean, that man's had his own internal battles, but he just kept leaning in. And you see how confident he shows up. He's confident he's that way because he's confident with who he is as a man, and he's got plenty of evidence to support it. Mm-hmm. But it didn't start there. The evidence came with the action. I'm scared. I'm going to do it anyway. I want to, you know, again, going from making millions of dollars to starting over, it's scary as shit. And so it's like, okay, I can sit in this, I can go get a job, but that's not who I am. It's like, or I'm going to lean into this, I'm going to start over, and I'm going to build an empire. It's scary as hell. But it's like, there's progress, and I'm starting to see evidence of it, and as it starts coming online, and it's like, I know what I want, and I'm willing to do it, and I'm in a season that I'm willing to do what other people aren't. And who am I to help men through things or to lean into the fear if I'm not doing it myself? Yeah. There's imposter syndrome that we can all experience, but I'm not going to be an imposter. So I'm checking myself. So if I'm giving you advice and I'm not following through on it, that to me is an imposter. There's hypocrisy in that. I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to be an imposter. I want to lean into it. Might take me a minute sometimes, but I'm going to do it. And that's just where I'm at today. And I just feel better about it. And again, it's rooted in what I said earlier. It's like, I want to follow through on the commitments I make to myself. I want to see what's truly possible, because I believe you can have it all. You can have the most epic relationship. You can have the money you want. You can have the body you want, the mindset, the spiritual. You can have it all. You can truly have it all. And I believe there's this core belief that people don't. And I think most people like, yep, I'm thriving here. And this is just okay, or this sucks, but these other areas are going. I truly believe that there's this belief that you can't have it all. And I don't believe that. And I'm choosing to like model that and be public about it and show people on my own journey that's like, oh yeah, you can have it all. You can lose it all and have it all. Doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter where you are in your life. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. Anything is possible.
If you have the want, yeah, everything's possible. Anything's possible. You have to have the want, the desire, and you want to be able to grow into it.
And which I heard that
action.
you have to do it.
Yeah, you have to put forth the effort. I mean, that when you were talking about the fear and everything, I'm thinking like, I've loved doing this podcast with him, but I was scared to like post it more. I'm like, oh, people are gonna make fun of me, and I'm like, going back to that, care what people think about it. And I'm like, you know what? This is something I'm truly passionate about. I need to just lean into that fear and start posting more, start advocating for myself more. You know, like getting coffee today. They're like, oh, what do you got going? Oh, I'm recording my podcast today. You know, even as much as asking you to come on here. That was a big fear of mine. You know, somebody's going to say no, but what's going to happen if I don't do it? I'm going to miss an opportunity. I'm going to miss this opportunity to sit here and share your story and sit in this room with you. If I would have just not asked, just not put myself out there and said, hey, I would love to have you come on here. To anybody that I've asked, it's scary. It's fear. I fear it a lot, but.
Well, what's the fear?
The no. But what's
fear of rejection?
Yeah.
So if someone says no, what does that mean about you? What story are you telling yourself? What if I would have told you no? What would that have meant?
You know, I thought a lot about that, but I don't know. It would have been, okay, we're not there yet. We'll get there. We'll get to the point that Adam feels we're worth it. But they're worth. There you go. Back to worth. Right there. But at the end of the day, I've got to be worthy to just know that I'm putting out the best I can every single time.
And what's wrong with the no? So again, we have a story attached to no.
Nothing's wrong with no.
What if someone says like, or rejects, right? Or like you guys are like in the dating world, right? It's like someone, I don't find you attractive, or I don't this or that. And it's like, it stinks. Yeah. But like, but it's also preference. It's also like, it doesn't resonate. Like if I would have told you no, it has nothing to do with you. I could have been busy. I could have been this. I could have been that, and it's like, whatever. And at the end of the day, it's like, it's not personal. We take things so personal. That's one thing I'm learning too, is like, it's not personal. Even it just isn't.
I actually did. I asked one guy, I was like, hey, love to have you come on, talk about your story, because I've known him for years. And he didn't respond. I'm like, cool. That's fine. Maybe it doesn't, like you said, resonate. Maybe it's not worth it for him. Maybe it's not whatever, busy, all that story. And then ran into him at the gym and he's like, I was going to text you back, but I mean, you're here anyways. I will, but I'm just not ready yet. Cool. Perfect. I'm not going to
his
push.
whole life could be a shit show and he doesn't feel like sharing it right now.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with you. Again, we make assumptions.
Yeah.
One of the greatest books, like, is The Four Agreements. Like, if you guys should have that on Audible, like anybody should. And it's like, if, for example, if there's conflict in your relationship and you're going to have a hard conversation, listen to the chapter. It's 15, 20 minutes. And like, don't take things personal. It's like, you'll go into that, in a completely different energy because nothing's personal. Like, even if it's your closest people, it's like, it's just a reflection of their experience and they're a mirror and they're just projecting onto you and vice versa. Everybody's a mirror. So we can get to a space like it's not personal, even though maybe I personally did something. Like, I'll take ownership in that, but nevertheless, it's like nothing's personal. Yeah. And again, I think I said this at the beginning. It's like, I'm in a season of practicing, really truly leaning into the art of detachment, detaching from outcomes, detaching from control, trying to control narratives, just let people have their own experience and let me have my experience. And you can have your experience and you can see one thing one way and I can see it another. And that's okay. Like we can see things different. And this old energy for me is like, you're either with me or against me. Unsubscribe from that.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, yeah, you can see it this way. That can be your truth. And I can see it this way. That can be
Right.
my truth. And there's room for that. And it's okay that we don't see things the same way.
100%.
I think that's been a problem with society is everybody wants to see things the same way. Nobody's allowed to have opinions on how to feel. At least that's how they've
Well, look at
made it out.
politics today. Look
Yeah.
at social. It's
Yeah.
so polarizing. So yeah, that's like, you're either with me or against me. And it's just like, it's great. I think it's wild to watch. I'm like, and it's exhausting. Here's the other thing too, is we get so caught up in what other people are doing. Imagine if you took that same energy and put it into yourself. Like, I mean, literally people that like, I mean, and I'm all for people pursuing their fashion or their passion. And like, this is a core value for me, or this is a belief and I want to like fight for this or do this. And like, which is great. But at the same time, it's like many times I've found, and I've done this in my own life, when we're focused on what else is happening outside of us, right? Many times is like, there's a part of me that I'm avoiding. And so it's easier to point a finger, or it's easier to put energy into this. It's like, I could put all my energy into following politics and loving Trump or hating Trump or whatever that is. And it's like, I put so much energy and so much effort in it. But it's like, if I took a fraction of that same time and energy and put it into my career and put it into my relationship, put it into my body, it's like, boom. I mean, if you really want to change the world, change yourself.
Yeah. It starts with you. The change starts with you. I mean, it's personal excellence, the ultimate rebellion kind of a thing. Like, you being you growing you is what's gonna change. Not Trump, not this person, that person. You're gonna make the changes, and the people around you are gonna grow with those changes. Well, not grow with the changes, but they're gonna start making their own changes, and everybody's going to be what we need to be because of us. It all starts with you. Everything starts with you.
100%.
I love that, man. That's really good. Yeah, man, you're awesome, dude. You really are. You have so much insight, so much wisdom. It's actually really cool to kind of hear you talk about those things and just the experiences that you've been through. I think you hit it right on the nail, right? It's, you're able to help those men and people that you coach to be able to, because you've been there, you've had those experiences, you've had that pain, but you've also come with that overcoming of those things. And I mean, just, quickly, just tell us what what you got coming up next, and and obviously we'll share your links to your social medias and all that stuff and your coaching programs. But give the people a little bit, or tell us, because I know a little bit about you. I've looked at your link tree or whatever it's called. So just tell us a little bit about that, so we get that word out there too.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, this has been an honor. Yeah, so I've got kind of three different offerings, if you will, with my coaching. So I do one-on-one coaching with men. It's very engaging. I'm as hands-on as anybody. I mean, it is. I truly believe, the more engaged you are with somebody, the more likely you are to have success in whatever it happens to be. So I meet men where they're at. So that the one-on-one coaching is really, earmarked and designed for, some men that have had success, but want to take it to the next level in whatever part of their life that is. And again, working with men that have put a lot of their worth tied into business and the pursuit of money, but they've let their relationship go to shit. They've let their body go. I mean, something else is out of alignment. The analogy I give is, for example, let's say our shoulder hurts and we keep massaging our shoulder. So again, men, money, I want more money. But it's like, but the reality is, to relieve the pressure, if you ever had a massage, relieve the pressure in your shoulder, there might be a pressure point in your back, AKA get your ass to the gym, AKA your relationship is affecting you, or whatever it happens to be. And it's like, you work on that. That's actually going to give you more money, or the more success, or whatever you're looking for. So the one-on-one coaching, I do, one-on-one coaching with men, specifically men that are, 30 and older, that have at least 40 pounds to lose, because I know that story so well. So it's very hands-on and customized nutrition, meal planning, and a ton around the emotional mindset side of it. That's the biggest missing link, I believe, in the fitness industry, is really focusing on that. So do one-on-one stuff on that. And then actually, I'm not sure when this is going to air, but this next week, I'm actually launching my group men's coaching platform. It's called the Phoenix Legion.
Sweet.
And so it'll be weekly Zoom calls for those that are local here in Utah. There'll be, monthly meetups, very community driven, it's only $199, so it's really inexpensive, but like, we're going to dig into all the different pillars, sharing my experience, create a community where we can create accountability, be open, be vulnerable, and help all of us as a group level up. There's a lot of power in a group setting. And so those are the kind of main things that I'm focusing and working on now. And I'm, again, just because of my own health journey, I've got some be doing some stuff in the hormone space in the coming months, and and in peptides world, and there's all these different ways you can biohack your body. And
Love it.
yeah, I ultimately kind of rounding things, kind of finalizing stuff here. I feel like, again, I've gone to the depths of hell. And as we said earlier, the light that we're searching for is found in the dark. I also believe you don't have to go as low as I went. And so many times it's me just literally grabbing a brother by the arm. I'm like, hey, we're going to go. You're not alone, but you got to do this. Like, I can guide you to it. I can walk you through it and help you through that and help you face your fears and do that and you're working with somebody that knows it intimately well, that also knows intimately well what you need to do to get out of it. And again, you have to go low to go high, but I don't believe you need to go as low as I did. And ultimately, if you want greatness, you're going to have pain along the way.
Yep.
And again, if you want it all, you got to be willing to look at yourself in the mirror and take radical accountability, own your shit, and go for it. And I truly believe that we can have it all. And that's really kind of my party message is you guys, me, all of us, if we're willing to do what we're called to do, what we're leaning into as we face our fears, anything is possible. So,
Sweet. Do you have any last questions I want to before we hit the challenge?
Nope, I don't.
We love, and this is something Dustin created. We love to end with a challenge, man.
Okay.
We like to challenge
Bring it.
our
I love
viewers,
a challenge.
challenge each other. Look at them and tell them, challenge them with something, man. Something that you feel like, take from your story or take just the challenge that you think would benefit them for the week or for the month and for the year sometimes even.
Yeah, I lean into what's scaring you. Lean in whatever's like on your mind constantly, whatever that happens to be, lean into it. Yes, be afraid, but do it anyway. If you know you need to have a hard conversation with your wife, have the conversation. If your needs aren't being met, express them. She's not a mind reader. If you want to take that next leap in your career, take it. Face your fear. Lean into it. You want something more in your life, look at yourself and say, okay, what do I need to do in order to do that? And do it anyway. Be scared and do it anyway. I'm telling you, your world will change. And no matter how bad you think it's going to be, it's never as bad as you think it's going to be. And even with all the stuff that I went through, yes, it was painful, but it also could have been a lot worse. And it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
That's
Awesome,
a great
man.
one.
I love that. Adam, it's been great, man.
It's been great.
Seriously,
Honor.
you're awesome,
Stoked
dude.
what you guys are doing. Big fans. And
Yeah,
I'm
thank you,
excited
man.
to see where you guys go.
Thanks,
Thank you. I'm excited to see where you go.
Yeah. Thanks, brother.
Appreciate you
both.
guys. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.
The Roundtable Podcast, where we talk to our personal growth, struggles, and journey.